Bitty Beats here from Pop Turn. I speak to Megan Best about elevator games streaming now on Shudder, just in time for spooky season. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, it's always going to be kind of a weird, surreal feeling where you go, you film this movie in the Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada area, you wrap, and then now people are finally able to see it. Like, it's never not going to be kind of a weird feeling, right? A little bit.
No, it's definitely weird, especially when my family and friends get a chance to see it. It's always pretty surreal because they're always like, "Oh, that's you, but it's not you," and they'll send me clips, and it's always kind of funny.
Absolutely. And it's interesting too because, gets picked up by Shudder, and
Yeah,
then, the first look photos come out and the trailer comes out and there you are in the elevator. Like, it's
I
pretty
know.
crazy.
It's very crazy. It's very, very surreal for sure.
And like I said, you're originally from the Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada area.
Yeah,
So you knew a lot of the actors you got to work with. Like, you were friends with some of them before.
yeah. I knew everybody except for Liam, and now him and I are really, really good friends.
It,
So
it's so
it's
crazy because obviously you're gonna go where the opportunities go and everything. But to work on a horror movie at a time where there is such a big appetite for that content, I'm just curious, what's that like for you specifically?
ooh, it's awesome. I've always been a huge horror movie fanatic,
Yeah.
since I was a kid, and especially now that they're like kind of boosting back up and becoming more popular, that's really fun. And I just think it's really fun to be a part of something that like I myself would enjoy. I always get super excited when I get to be working on something that like I would have so much fun going to see in the theaters or watching at home with my family. So it's really cool. It's really
So you
cool.
like horror movies? You're a big fan.
I love horror movies.
Me
Yeah,
too.
it's amazing.
And there's so many to watch, and it's spooky
I know.
season. It's
I
great.
know. I know. Yeah.
Was this your first like project in the horror kind of thriller realm?
No, actually, I've done a few horror movies because for some reason, Winnipeg films a lot of horror movies. So I did a couple. I did one called Seance. That was one of my first ones.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen that movie. I'm a
Have
big
you seen that? That's crazy. Yeah. That was one
I
of my first
I
ones.
watch a lot of horror movies.
I love that. I love that.
That was
Yeah.
filmed in Winnipeg?
That was filmed in Winnipeg.
There was
Yeah.
a movie called Incidents in a Ghostland with Amelia Jones from Lock and Key and Taylor
Yeah.
Hickson. That was
Yeah.
also filmed in Winnipeg, I found out.
That was filmed in Winnipeg. I know a lot of people that worked on that, and they said that they are amazing. Yeah, they just
That movie is crazy. That movie's messed up. I
it
have to
still.
give you recommendations because now you're part of the
Please,
Shudder family.
please
You're
give
in
me.
some very good company because there's like Shudder has so many amazing movies.
Yeah, I was just scrolling today actually. I don't have a subscription, but I need to get one because
It's
there's
worth it. Like, if there's so many of them, and of course they can also, if they get a subscription, they can watch Elevator Game.
of course, of course.
It's interesting because I don't want to go into kind of spoilers or anything, but your character, I mean, if it's not for your character, there's no Elevator Game. Your character kind of sets up the whole entire movie. And
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy because you kind of have a short amount of time to kind of figure out what's happening with your character and everything, and then you get into kind of the mystery and the killings and everything. What is
yeah,
that like for you reading the script and saying like, you know what, like there's a big part of this in the beginning that is pretty pivotal. Like, do you think about that with your character, like the pivotal kind of component of it for the stories?
yeah, absolutely. Because um, it's interesting. Like, there's not like a lot of dialogue to work with, and there's not a lot of time. But in those few moments, you kind of have to set up this sense of fear and this sense of um, motivation as to why she's there.
Yep.
And obviously, we find out later why. And it just kind of makes it all the more tragic when you later learn. But you have to have um, that underlying story in the way that you carry yourself. I don't know how to exactly explain it,
Yeah.
but
I
you
mean, we're
have to
also
spell it
we're
out.
dancing around spoilers, which I think is
Yeah,
hilarious because I was telling you before we started. No, because I interviewed like your entire cast, and like
yeah,
we talk spoilers the whole time. Like I had
Oh,
to
okay.
put disclaimers. I had to put disclaimers like everywhere, especially the one with Madison and Liam. It was so like obvious because we were talking about the fact that no, this is the best. We were talking about the fact that there's like one of the stills that Shudder was using to kind of promote the movie was like Madison screaming with the blood on her face. And then Liam was like, that's my blood, by the way, in the movie. And I was like, that's a spoiler. And then we were laughing. And then I was like, yeah, a hand comes out of your neck.
I love them. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So we can talk spoilers,
spoilers.
okay? Your character is Toast in the beginning of the movie.
Toast. Yeah.
Toast.
And it's so sad because I was thinking about this. It's when I was prepping for it, it's so sad because she is doing this for someone that like for Chris who doesn't even care about her.
That's my next question. So obviously were you around when they were filming those? Like, cause like obviously you have your own scenes, right? But like were you there on certain set days with them?
I wasn't like scheduled, but I would just show up to hang out. Because I just love being on set, and they were all my friends, and so like I would like go in for like a COVID test or a costume fitting. I would just like, hey, I'm just gonna stick around.
So were you there for the scenes, the reveal that Gino's character is your brother? Like, were you?
I wasn't there for that day.
Okay, because that was intense. That was the whole reveal.
That was very intense.
So
watching
okay, yeah, but you can actually answer this from a script perspective because you got the scripts for this. So obviously, it doesn't have to do with your character in terms of in the scenes, but I find it interesting because and Alec does an amazing job with this playing Chris from an acting perspective. I mean, you meet this guy Chris, and he's like a bit conceited. Well, not bit. He's very conceited. He's a jerk. But then we find out kind of what happens with your character and Gino and everything, and then like. There's this like change where it's like he's not just a jerk, like he's a bad guy, he's a villain. You know what I mean? What's that like, kind of seeing that in this script for this like popcorn horror movie that kind of has a lot of kind of like big like bite and big kind of hit at the end, the kind of hitting the audience a little bit with this kind of dramatic flair of that reveal specifically?
Well, it was a fun twist, and I was not expecting that at all when reading the script. So that gave me another layer to work with. But it was really fun reading it, knowing that Alec was cast because Alec's amazing, and I've seen him perform many times. Very thankful, and I knew he had it in him, and I was like, oh, I cannot wait to see how this plays out, especially with him and Gino.
And they're like best friends, and
they're best buds. They're so cute together. They're the best of friends. And it was such an interesting plot twist that I really was not expecting, but I definitely knew that both of them had it in them. So it was really fun.
And, the movie has the jump scares, the gore, the suspense. It has kind of everything you want in a horror movie. When you're kind of filming this movie, are there moments where it really does feel scary? Or because you know how it is, right? Like, well, actually, your scenes, I bet you, were scary to shoot. 100%.
They were. It was, the building we were filming in, we were in almost like this, like, I don't know what it was, like a warehouse, but there was like a basement that we were in. And it was dark the entire time we were filming because they needed to do the lighting properly. And so like in between shots, I would just go off into a dark corner and just get out of people's way and prepare. And I was a little spooked. And then Samantha came out in her costume with the blood, and she had these like feet that had like makeup on them. The toenails were all black and crusted, and it was really intense. Yeah. They did a great job of creating that environment for us, for sure.
It's like such a perfect timing also for like spooky season because it's just, I have a list of, well, first of all, this weekend was a big weekend. I watched a lot of stuff because it's a combination of like for the gig to do the interviews and the reviews, but I also love it. I watched it a lot. There's so much coming out, and there's so much stuff that like I haven't seen from like last year or like years before, because there's also so much, and Shudder does an amazing job. There's so many amazing horror movies from all around the world.
Yeah.
That
No,
like, that's like the best part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, Megan Best is a storyteller. That's like what you do basically. Is one of the best things about being a storyteller, like working kind of in a world where so many different stories are now finally being able to get told. Like I feel like that's the best part.
100%. There's so much variety, which is really fun. You can jump, you know, from doing horror to drama to comedy, which is really nice. And it's funny too, because like the more I kind of experiment with different genres, I realize that they're all basically rooted in the same foundation.
It's storytelling. So your mindset doesn't change that much, right? Like obviously the scenes, yeah, okay, for sure.
It's imagination and it's make believe, and you just got to commit no matter what you're doing.
Obviously, you know, you're focusing on kind of acting and everything, but you know, a lot of people go behind the camera, they write, they direct, they produce. It's like indie film, you know what I mean? You have to wear many hats when, you know, sometimes you don't have a choice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think about those things a little bit, obviously, or are you just focusing maybe on in front of the camera, like the acting stuff, or like writing, directing? Like, do you want to do a lot of different things?
I do. You know what? I've thought about it a lot, especially like during quarantine, and now I've been doing a lot of thinking about writing and potentially directing. Directing is something I think I would really love to do, because I feel like I have a lot of like ideas, but I don't know how I would be in terms of communicating them. But I would love to like exercise that muscle one day, and put that hat on for a bit. And writing is something that I think would be really fun. I've done a little bit of it, but I haven't fully dove into it.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite horror movie? And well, actually, it's interesting because there's a difference between your favorite horror movie and the scariest movie you've ever seen.
Okay.
So do you have those two?
I do.
Oh,
I do.
Goodness. Okay.
So my favorite horror movie, I would have to say, would be Nightmare on Elm Street, the original.
The original? So good.
Original. Yep. I love that one.
Okay.
It just feels like a classic. Or I also love The Exorcist.
Yes. The new one's coming out. It looks terrifying.
I know. I'm preparing to.
Do you go to the movie theaters a lot? Like now,
I do.
like
I try to.
Yeah, because I feel like it's such an immersive. It's like an experience, especially with horror movies, right?
Totally.
You're in this dark theater. You have your popcorn. You're in a hoodie. You dive in.
It's the best place because you have the surround sound and like all of the creaks and the noise, like, and it's huge and you can't escape it.
Oh, I went to go see The Boogeyman with Sophie Thatcher from Yellow Jackets this summer, and like I couldn't believe the sound. I was like, this sound of this movie, and then I went to go see like Megan with like the Blumma, like the sound. It's so great that you say that because that's the best part about horror movies in my opinion, the sound.
I completely agree. And then it's like ringing in your ear and you can't like.
And then you look there, and you're like
oh,
wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and what would you say the scariest movie you've ever seen is?
It's a movie called The Ritual. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen that movie? You've seen that movie?
Oh, I just recommended it to like.
It's
so terrifying.
It's horrifying.
The one on Netflix, right? 2018 on Netflix, where they go like in the woods.
Yes.
It's
terrifying.
I was just talking to someone about it. I was recommending it to my friend because I'm becoming the person that recommends movies to people.
I love being that friend. It's so great.
I'm that person. Well, I think I'm going to send you a lot
recommend
of
movies to me, please. I love recommendations.
So, The Ritual is fantastic. Like, so good.
It's so good.
Okay. I'm going to tell you mine now. So, so my favorite horror movie is a movie that came out. And it's tough because there was a movie that just came out with Natalie Emmanuel and Thomas Doherty which was a horror movie with the same title. But this is the 2015 The Invitation.
I've heard of that movie.
You haven't seen it?
Seen it.
Dinner Party Gone Wrong. That's basically what it is. Like it's so good.
Invitation.
Like
Okay.
and it's
I'll
so
watch
funny. I'll
it.
sometimes interview like the cast of it, and it was like an indie film. They did it a while ago, and I'm so into it when I ask them questions about it. They're like, "Oh my god, you really like this movie?" I'm like, "It's the best." And then the scariest movie I've ever seen is The Strangers with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. Do you remember that one with the mask? The
Yeah, I
Strangers.
was just talking to Alec about it, actually. I was just talking to him
It
this
was
morning about it.
terrifying. Yeah, Alec is a huge fan of The Invitation.
Yeah. He's definitely recommended it to me before.
I just told him and Gino, I just recommended them to watch Speak No Evil. Did he tell you about that one?
No, that's a new one, right?
It came out last year.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my god,
Okay.
there's so many. I get
There's
so
so
excited
many.
because there's so many. No, the
Amazing.
ritual is just so funny because I literally was talking about that with someone yesterday. So
No,
that's why I did the full, but you know what? Recommendations later on. They gotta watch Elevator Game on Shudder. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely.
And Megan, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on Popternative.
Thanks for having me. It was great chatting with you.
Absolutely. Your Instagram account is it just Megan Best and want to keep up to date with everything?
Yeah, except there's an extra T at the end because someone else stole my real name. So.
Oh my goodness.
So rude. So disrespectful.
Well, this has been Popturner, youtube.com/Popturner for previous episodes. Until next time, to make it best, we can catch an Elevator Game on Shudder just in time for spooky season. And Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.